ultimate heel, Matt George, who even in a win, Matt George can't celebrate. He finds
not good enough.
He finds a reason to be upset. I believe one of your Twitter followers said, "I'm not going to get upset about winning wrong." Matt, why do you stay stirring it up?
No, I not good enough last night. Look, and I've said this too. And if you want me to lean into the heel persona, fine, I'll lean into the heel persona. No matter what happens tomorrow night, no matter what happened last night, this is already a failed homestand because Sacramento dropped 2 of these 5 games. 4-1 was the bare minimum. It was the bare minimum, and they failed. They failed.
Homestand.
It's a failed homestand. 3-2. It might have been improvement on when they started. Not good enough. We're going to look back at this homestand. We might look back at this homestand. I'm telling you, in March, April, we might look back at this and say, remember that game they lost to Atlanta? Remember that game they dropped to LA? Remember this homestand when they should have picked up 4 or even 5 of them? Nope. That's that difference. That's the difference between that 4 seed and that 5 seed right there.
I'm about to say, yeah, that's going to be what we're going to talk about. The difference between 4 and 5.
Yep. Damn right. You lose home court advantage. You're going to point to this and you're going to say, everyone, heel Matt George was right. We could be having game 1. Instead, we have to wait till game 3. Heel Matt George was right.
HMG.
And y'all gonna come crawling back to me, and I'm gonna say, you know what? No, not good enough. Not good enough.
HMG.
Man, leaning into the persona. Okay, all kidding aside, I thought it started with his podcast, and Matt said, "Oh, I'm catching flack." He texted me, "I'm catching flack for saying they should have played better last night." And that was Locked On was next on the list, and I pulled it up. I was like, I thought Matt delivered. I thought what Matt said was fine. Mm-hmm. You got to be able to. You had the opportunity to put a team like Houston away. You didn't. You let them back in the game. Not only did you let them back in the game, I thought Matt laid this all out very, very well. And then I saw his Twitter account, and that's the thing, Matt. You can't tweet it. You can say it because you've got 30, 40, 50 minutes to explain your words. But when you tweet it, boy, you're dead in the water.
Well, if you read my tweet, you got a problem with it. You got to come to the podcast for context. You got to get more Matt George if you want to get with the real word.
You're asking a lot of people. You're asking a lot of people to click a link and listen.
For those who didn't check it out, though, what was your issue with last night? Just the close game in the fourth quarter.
Starting with the fact that you came into the fourth quarter losing at home to the Houston Rockets and had allowed 95 points to a Houston Rockets team that averages 109 per game to start. Now, the fourth quarter was fantastic. Like, it was excellent. But the fourth quarter, the way I started my podcast was saying the fourth quarter is the rug that you're going to brush the other 3 quarters under and try and hide the realities of that game. Like, being there watching, the Sacramento Kings were not playing, I don't think, good basketball. And it's crazy to say a team that finished scoring 135. Did they score last night? 136? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like, was not playing their best basketball, but they weren't. Like, it took a 41-20 fourth quarter to change a lot of people's minds. And I was surprised because I've walked into post-game press conferences after Kings wins when I was on Cloud freaking 9, and Mike Brown will open up the press conference going, man, I thought we did good, but we could have done better. So I'm walking into last night's press conference thinking Mike's going to open this up saying the fourth quarter was great, but now he opens up the press conference like, that was freaking awesome. That was great. We executed our game plan. But I was like, what the hell, Mike? Like, what y'all played terrible basketball. Well, not terrible. Y'all played to the level of the Houston Rockets, I felt, for the first 3 quarters of that game. The first quarter, you had some good moments. The second and third quarters, you did not play your level of basketball, and you allowed the Houston Rockets to hang around. And I said, after the Magic game, I did not expect the Sacramento Kings to blow the Rockets out both nights the way they blew out the Orlando Magic. But I want to see the Sacramento Kings build a lead at home and maintain and sustain that lead. I know basketball is a game of runs. I get it. But you had 2 10-plus point leads in the first half, and you blew both of them, one of which you blew within a matter of minutes. The Rockets hit 3 straight threes, and that 10-point lead became like 1 in a minute and a half. Again, basketball is a game of runs, but I want to see the Sacramento Kings against teams that they're clearly better than. Houston had no business wanting to win that game. They don't care. They're out there trying to showcase and invite Victor Wembanyama to dinner. Like, that's what they're out there for. They're trying to court him. And then the young guys are trying to get their shots up and have their moments. So I wanted to see the Sacramento Kings handle business better. We saw what they're capable of in the fourth quarter, and it's about time they showed it.
For those just tuning in, by the way, just new audience. For those just tuning in, the Kings won by 20 last night.
Right.
Should have been 30.
Let me ask you a question, Matt. Let me ask you a question. Were the Kings a good team or a bad team last year?
Last year?
Yeah.
Garbage.
They lost to Denver 115-110. They lost to Philadelphia 103-101. They lost to Milwaukee 133-127. Let's see. Let me find it. They lost to Cleveland 109-108.
Four teams didn't win the championship, Kenny.
Oh, but those are all really good. We're moving the goalposts back now. We're moving the goalposts now because now we're just talking about championship. Before we were talking about being a good team and handling bad teams. And the Kings were a garbage team, then to quote you, last year. And they hung around, and these good teams let a garbage team hang around. It happens. It happens. It's the NBA, man. It happens.
You say get greedy. I'm getting greedy. We're 40 games into the Sacramento Kings championship season, damn it. Those 4 teams weren't champions. That's not what champions do.
Matt has gotten so greedy that 20-point wins aren't enough.
Nope, not enough.
Not enough.
Should have been more. It should have been. You should have been up 20 in the second quarter and then sustained it to the fourth quarter.
So the Kings do better tomorrow.
Matt adjusted his suit, grabbed his purse, and told the Kings to do better tomorrow. That's good stuff.
It happens, man. It's the NBA. And I don't think they were playing bad earlier. Were they playing to the best of their capabilities? No, but I don't think they were playing bad. The Rockets, KJ Martin was playing really well. They were making some shots, whatever the case may be. But what you do if you're a good team is you turn up and you handle business when you're supposed to. And that's what they did last night.
They did. The fourth quarter was excellent. Their execution in the fourth quarter, Trey Lyles was phenomenal in that fourth quarter. And then, I mean, it was a different kind of dominance in the fourth quarter for DeAaron Fox in the sense that, like, it wasn't scoring. Like 6 assists to me in the fourth quarter is just as impressive as when he dropped, 22 in the fourth, not too many games ago. And it's because DeAaron, he's guarded differently now in the fourth. Teams know the fourth quarter is DeAaron's domain. So they're throwing more pressure at him. And DeAaron could get to any spot on the floor that he wanted to last night, was still getting to his spots, but instead was looking to cash in on the hot hand, which was Trey Lyles and the threes that he was hitting, and also was feeding Domantas Sabonis too. So the fourth quarter execution from the Sacramento Kings was great. I don't think the Kings should have to wait until the fourth quarter to be trailing the Houston Rockets at home and go, oh, wait a minute. It's the fourth quarter. We're at home. Now let's turn it on. Like, I want to see the Kings do that earlier on in the game. And as much as I'm having fun with this heel persona, a 20-point win is fantastic. But the 20-point win doesn't tell the story of that game last night. That game was way closer than a 20-point win suggests. The Kings had a dominant fourth quarter, and that dominance that we've seen from the Sacramento Kings that we know they're capable of nightly, I don't think should have to wait till the fourth quarter to see. It's been more rare than it has been common for Sacramento to not be able to build and sustain leads, especially in games that they've been dropping here at home. They weren't able to build that big of a lead. They almost blew a lead that they could never get above 9 points in their win against the Utah Jazz. They were not able to build any kind of lead. In fact, trailed a lot of the game against Washington. They weren't able to build much of a lead against Charlotte. So I want to see the Kings show an ability to put games away earlier and not have to wait and rely on fourth quarter DeAaron Fox to defeat teams that are openly bottom of the standings. Because if you're waiting to do that, you're not going to be in a position to do that against playoff teams in games that matter March and April, in my opinion.
They just did that on Monday.
Against Orlando?
Yeah, they just did that the other day.
Yeah.
Not every game is going to be that way.
No, I understand not every game's going to be that way. I'm not saying they have to blow every team out every single night. What I'm saying is I want to see the Sacramento Kings consistently show an ability to put teams away that they should be much better than, they are much better than at home. Thankfully, they did it in the fourth quarter, but you said be greedy. I'm trying to be greedy. I want to see it earlier.
I like the greediness.
And sometimes it's just as simple as shots falling. The Kings hit 6 3-pointers in that fourth quarter. The Rockets hit 7 field goals.
Damn.
Like sometimes it's just as simple as that. And I'm glad you said something about DeAaron that I don't think has gotten enough attention, because we've kind of had some fun with Trey Lyles and the performance that he had last night in the 15 points in the fourth quarter, 20 points overall. DeAaron, you mentioned the 6 assists. He had 9 points in that quarter. He had 9 points and 6 assists in the fourth quarter. Man. That's every bit as fourth quarter Fox's the 22-point performance was. Yeah. He constantly made the right play in the fourth quarter for that game to become what it was before Steven Silas, as Kyle Draper noted, waved the white flag and put everybody but Boban in.
Yeah.
Poor Boban. Free Boban.
It would have been nice to throw Boban.
Best moment of the game last night was Slamson before the game in a spacesuit and messing with the Rockets, and Boban waved to him like a child and then came up and gave him a fist bump. That was the best part of the game.
That's terrific.
I love Boban, and free Eric Gordon, because poor Eric Gordon wastes away in that team. Get him to an opportunity to be a sixth man on a playoff team.
Like Jason Jones said, Eric Gordon thought he was getting traded 3 seasons ago.
Wow.
He's just stuck there, like an episode of Atlanta when they were stuck in that mall.
Oh gosh,
that's Eric Gordon with the Houston Rockets.
Can't get out the mall. Can't get out the mall. Hey, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna piggyback off what you said, man. DeAaron Fox, 9.6 assists
in the fourth quarter, man.
That's a dominant performance from your point guard late in that game. And some people would even like it a little bit more, because not only is he handling business himself, but he's getting others involved as well. So, and we just kind of sleep on it, because it's not as flashy. But 9.6 assists, that is being a person that controls the game when it matters most.
You know what else we sleep on is how good of a teammate Domantas Sabonis is. Because this man's 1 assist shy of a triple-double. This man's leading the team in scoring all night in a game where Sacramento hasn't looked particularly great until the fourth quarter. And he takes a passive role time and time and time again in the fourth when it's DeAaron's time. And he stepped to the podium and said before, I tell DeAaron in the fourth quarter, it is your show. You tell me where to go. You want me in a screen or you want me out of your way. And Domantas lives by that. Like, you don't see many players who are doing what only the 2-time MVP in the league is doing and get out of the way in winning time after he's the one at times carrying the team on his back for the first 3 quarters. You don't see that a lot. And what I'm seeing out of Domantas Sabonis and what I saw out of Darren Fox last night is 2 guys that know that they're the best, know that they have to carry this team as far as they're going to go. But when others like Trey or Malik or Kevin or Keegan or whoever it is are getting hot, they know when to step aside and do the best thing to help the Sacramento Kings win. And that's something that I don't know if Mike Brown taught that, if he's influenced that in any kind of way, but that to me is the foundation of winning basketball. And I think that's what the Sacramento Kings are going to be able to build their success on for hopefully the next 5+ years.
What do you think about this resurgence, or so to speak, from the bench that we've seen the last couple of days? Obviously, namely Chimezie Metu and what he's been able to do. We saw, Trey Lyles last night, but I think it started in the Orlando game. We hadn't seen Chimezie Metu since Halloween or whenever we determined it was, and he was out there cooking against Orlando. And now it feels like the bench is back in the flow to where the Kings second unit could again be, I think at one point they were the highest scoring second unit in the league. Feels like they might be working their way back to that.
If there is a better option than Chimezie Metu for the backup 5 spot, they are not on the roster yet. That's the way I feel. I look at Chimezie Metu, I look at the way he plays, I look at the energy that he brings. Yes, he still has shortcomings. You could find a shortcoming with literally every player on this freaking roster, maybe not named Domantas Sabonis, but even then you could point out like rim protection or whatever. Chimezie Metu comes in, provides energy, and makes an impact. And I compared him loosely to Malik Monk in the sense that, and plus the 2 of them have a ridiculous connection that I think, Kenny, you pointed out earlier this week. When Malik Monk and Chimezie Metu come into a game, you see an energetic impact. And it's an impact that doesn't just affect the players around them and the way the Sacramento Kings play. It affects the people inside the Golden One Center. And when the Golden One Center gets rocking, the Sacramento Kings are at their best. There's a reason why the Kings tend to go on little mini spurts and runs after 2 missed free throws and crumble cookies. Like, energy in that building directly, and I'm giving Kings fans power, and rightfully so. Energy in the Golden One Center, this Kings team clearly responds to, and both Malik Monk and Chimezie Metu are curators of energy. They always bring energy when they come in with the second unit. That was what was missing in the Laker game, despite the fact that they scored 134 points in that loss, or 135, whatever they scored. That's what was missing, was that Malik Monk energy. Chimezie Metu's energy has been missed as well. I don't know why Richaun Holmes doesn't do the energetic little things that Chimezie Metu brings. I think that's part of Richaun's game. I have no idea what it is, but that is Chimezie Metu's spot. He's going to do things that would normally lose him that spot or might frustrate Mike Brown from time to time and cause Domantas Sabonis to have to play 40-plus minutes, but hopefully those nights are few and far between. And until Monte McNair finds a replacement or improves this roster, that should be Chimezie Metu's spot.
Yeah, I agree. What did you think about Terrence Davis last night? Getting the start, and he's been, battling it a little bit, but, he got the start for Herter, who was out sick. And, he didn't score the ball a lot, but I was telling Damian earlier, I thought he played really hard last night. I thought he was trying to do the right things. I think he had 6 rebounds last night. But, he was trying to get in there and make his presence felt. What do you think about his play?
I think the biggest criticism I have of Terrence Davis is that I didn't really notice him last night, truth be told. There isn't anything Terrence Davis did last night that stood out. But at the same time, there wasn't anything bad that Terrence Davis did last night that stood out. I think he played the spot. I think he stepped into the role that's clearly Kevin Huerter's, and he filled it. And he had moments. He hit some shots from time to time, played with hustle, played with energy. If there's anything I can say with absolute certainty about Terrence Davis, it's that he's coachable and that he responds to what Mike Brown wants. But I think that's something that's consistent throughout this entire roster. Mike Brown gets responses from these guys. That's something that Luke Walton was never really able to do. Dave Yeager was never really able to do. Since Mike Malone, we have not seen anybody really consistently get responses out of players. And Mike seems to get it out of this entire roster, not just one or two guys. And I asked DeAaron about how coachable this team is last night, and he basically said guys want to win. And I think Terrence Davis played last night like, I think I should be a part of this rotation. I think I deserve to be in this starting spot, but I want to win first and foremost. That's how I see Terrence Davis and the rest of the Sacramento Kings playing.
You mentioned that DeAaron Fox question. I actually want to play that. I thought that was a great question and a great answer from DeAaron. But before we do, we've got tickets to see the Sacramento Kings take on Toronto at the end of the month, January 25th to be exact. And we've got those tickets for you right now. Caller number 3, 916-909-1320. Call Jesse. Say, I love heel Matt George, and he'll get you the tickets. 916-909-1320. Again, caller number 3. See the Sacramento Kings take on Toronto. I'm actually grabbing this from Brendan Nunez Twitter account. Here's the question that Matt George was just referring to.
You talked about how coachable you are. Trey just shared being asked to get more rebounds. Keegan was asked to get more rebounds. Just in your perspective as one of the leaders, how coachable do you think this roster is?
I think guys want to win. Coaches aren't asking us to, and they've never asked me to go score 30 or go score 40. They don't ask Domas to get a triple-double. They ask little things. Be in early. Be a low guy. Box out. Keep your guy in front of you. They're asking us to do little things that continue to add up. And once all these things are stacked up, you become a really good team. So it's just a lot of details that they ask us to do, and guys who want to win are willing to do it. And I think we have had multiple guys be asked of different things throughout the season, and they've stepped up. So,
for those new to the program, Brendan Nunez is a notoriously loud typer. That was Brendan Nunez there. But Matt, I thought that was a great question on your part and a really detailed answer from DeAaron Fox there.
Well, first off, it's proof that Darren Fox still talks to me. So minions.
Yes, that was my first. That was my first thought. Is he didn't give you a yes or no or a shut up, Matt George. Like, he gave you an answer.
You ready for this? That was the second question I asked him too. So he talked to me twice last night. So that's 2 more than you losers. Anyway, no, I love DeAaron's answer. Like, I'm not asked to go out and score 30. They know that I can do that, but I'm not asked to do that. And what has Mike Brown called Keegan Murray out for? Rebounds, which I thought has been kind of overblown a little bit, but that's just my mama bear defensiveness of my rookie, Keegan Murray. He's asked Trey Lyles. Trey Lyles shared last night. He called me out in front of the entire team and said, I need you to defensive rebounds. Terrence Davis has shared with us before. He got called out on the bench in the middle of a game for not doing something right, and then went back in a quarter later and did it right. And Mike celebrated that. Like, that's the kind of response that Mike is getting out of this group. Mike is I think Keegan Murray said that Mike is like a father figure to him, or has been a father figure to him off the floor. But when he's on the floor, like, he holds him accountable. I witnessed Mike pull Davion Mitchell during training camp in front of the entire team and say, you need to be better as a point guard. You have a really, really tough job and you need to be better at it. Like, this team responds to that. And Mike has the reputation and he has the belief and the support of that roster that they will listen to him and they will take that criticism. And that's one of the, I think, biggest compliments that I can give DeAaron Fox this season. DeAaron Fox has shown small things that are exactly what we've heard Mike Brown preach since the beginning of the season. And the best example that I can give, we've heard Mike Brown talk a lot about guarding with your chest, not with your hands. Mm-hmm. And DeAaron does that every night, almost every possession against guards who attack him. Unfortunately, he did it perfectly against Schroeder it was Schroeder in the Laker game, and Schroeder for some reason was allowed to go to the free throw line for DeAaron not giving him a lane to the basket. God forbid a defender not allow you to have a free lane to the basket. The one time the Kings actually deny a lane and they get called a foul for it. So that is just an example of the many small ways that DeAaron and different Sacramento Kings have allowed themselves to be coached by Mike Brown and not just worry about the points that they're putting up and the stats that maybe get them contract incentives. And that's a clear shot at a former Sacramento King.
DeAaron, quiet as kept last night, kind of turned the water off on Jalen Green. Jalen Green was looking aggressive and doing some good things. And DeAaron, I saw him digging down and locking up to try and make his life a living hell in that second half. So great job at that. Domantas Sabonis, myself and Damian, we have come to the conclusion that he is never not going to have a double-double for the rest of the season. You agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's never not going to have a double-double. He's going to have double-doubles for the remainder of his career, including his Kobe Bryant send-off final game when he has a 60-point triple-double.
Oh, very nice. And hopefully that gets him the 230 that he needs to beat Wilt Chamberlain's all-time record. Right now,
he might be 230 off by then.
Yeah, we're right now, Matt. We're just looking for 54 straight, so he can beat Kevin Love's modern era NBA record of 53.
And until he does that, you know what, Damian? Not good enough.
No,
until he gets there, not good enough. Sabonis, you couldn't get me one more assist last night. You got to get in the triple-double conversation. You couldn't get me one more. I don't care if you got taken out with 2 minutes left. You then go to Mike Brown and say, damn it, you leave me in the game. I'm getting this last assist. Not good enough.
Back at it again. I think Jokic was 1 assist short of a triple-double last night as well. He got pulled.
In that game that aired on ESPN instead of Kings Rockets?
Yeah.
That 30-point blowout, I think it was.
People do not talk enough about the fact that, and I've seen this brought up like casually in conversations on Twitter and then just glossed over. Nikola Jokic, back-to-back MVPs, has a good chance to be a 3 straight time MVP, is the only player doing what Domantas Sabonis can do. How in the world are we questioning whether or not Sabonis should be an all-star? How is this even a question? Like, this needs to be talked about in every living room of a so-called NBA fan in the country, what Domantas Sabonis is doing. I mean, you look up at the scoreboard at the end of the first quarter every single night, and the man has like 9 points, 5 rebounds, and 6 assists every night. And some nights he's playing 40 minutes, other nights he's playing 32. The stat line is the same every freaking time. Like, Sabonis needs to be a household name, and it's embarrassing that he's not.
Yeah, I agree. Hey, let me ask you a question, Matt. I'm going to ask Damian this too, kind of, because I've been on this rampage for the last hour and a half.
Oh, God.
Well, not about the Niners, but
I
don't think I think because people are so caught up in the fact that they don't, well, I don't want to say they don't believe. They don't play great defense. The Kings, that's the fact. They're so caught up on that they lose sight of the fact that this is the highest scoring team in basketball. And they score at a clip that a lot of teams can't keep up with. And I know when you talk about championships and playoffs, they're going to have to defend. Absolutely. We get all that. But they were going through the numbers earlier, and I always just kind of throw out there like, hey, Kings are going to score. Can you keep up? If they can score, I don't think you guys can keep up, talking about whoever they're playing. And Damian pulled up the stat. They've scored 120 points 18 times this year. They're 16-2 when they score 120. Literally, if they score, y'all can't keep up. Do you think there's not been
breaking the Warriors' regular season record? Come on, guys.
Do you think there's not been enough made of the fact that this team is really fun offensively and they're the highest scoring team in basketball?
I think their defense is bad enough to where we don't appreciate it as much as we should, myself included. Let me tell you the problem that I have with what you just said. 16-2 is awesome when you score 120 or more points. That's been less than half of the games they played. Mm-hmm. So unless the Kings are doing that 50%, they haven't even done that 50% of the time. So we're saying that the Kings are not playing at their optimal offensive value to outscore someone more than 48 or whatever the hell percentage of the time that is. Like, that's concerning to me as someone who wants to see this team go to the next level and have success. And Mike Brown said it himself. He actually said it, I think, after the Laker game in response to a question that I asked. He said, simply outscoring your opponent every night is not a consistent recipe for success. It's not a recipe for winning. When the Kings were on their 7-game win streak, they were close to, if not the best offense. I think they were like number 2 best offense in the NBA at that time. Defensively, they were middle of the pack. They were like 15, 16, 17, that range. And they won 7 straight, including a 153-point blowout over the Brooklyn Nets, including a road win against the 2nd seed Memphis Grizzlies. That goes to show you, this Kings team just needs to be average defensively to start bridging that gap between good and great. That's how good the offense is. But unfortunately, their defense is so poor and at times inconsistent, and this Kings team cares so much about responding to a bucket with a bucket and not stopping that first bucket to begin with, that they handicap themselves. And even like Harrison Barnes pointed out, I asked Harrison after his 30-point performance in the win over the Orlando Magic, I talked to him, like, share with us what it's like to have that feeling in the NBA of everything you touch is gold and everything's going in. And the first thing that Harrison said to me was, I felt like every time I made a basket, we were just trading baskets and they were answering. Like, that's the first thing he pointed out. So this Kings team recognizes they got to start stringing together stops over the course of a 48-minute game and can't just rely on scoring 120 points a night, because when it rains, it pours with this team. Offensively, we've seen them explode, but we've also seen droughts affect the entire roster to where nobody outside of Domantas Sabonis is shooting above a 45, 50% clip. And when you get to the playoffs where they say defense really matters in the playoffs, the Kings aren't really going to be the team that I expect to step up defensively to win those playoff games. But a team like Memphis or Denver or Dallas or whoever who's been there before, who knows defensively what it takes to win, I expect them to be able to step it up. And I don't know if any of those teams are going to allow the Sacramento Kings on that stage to score 120 points 4 times to win a series.
Why are you so mad today?
It's a heel persona, baby. I'm leaning into it. I like this. This is how the Miz feels like. This is what MJF feels like. I'm in. I need a scarf.
Do you? Oh, yeah, I'm with that. Do you think they're capable of doing what you just laid out? You mentioned the Harrison Barnes, which is a great line, saying they felt like they were just, he'd score and then they'd score, like they were just trading baskets. Do you think the Kings are capable enough of a defensive team to make those stops when needed?
I think they've shown it, but I don't think they're capable enough yet consistently, especially on the biggest stage. Like if they're struggling to do it against Houston, which again, it happens. Like one of the things that I appreciated about last night was Mike made it very clear he thought the Kings executed their game plan, which was, we're going to give them open looks on the perimeter because we're not going to allow ourselves to get beat in the paint. Well, the Kings gave up 46 points in the paint, which is good for them. And the Houston Rockets had a big shooting night, which allowed them to stay close. So as soon as I heard that, I felt a little bit better despite the heel persona. But no, the Kings are not to the point where I can consistently believe that they're going to be able to pull that off. Like, and I don't think that this roster is going to be capable of doing that this season. I think they have guys that are capable of doing that in stretches. And if the Kings can do essentially what they did last night, but against good teams, which is put themselves in a position, a close game against a Denver, which we've seen, and then defensively do enough to win that game, or I could use the Cleveland game as an example, right? The game in Cleveland where the Kings were behind defensively. That's what fueled that 19-0 run that the Kings went on. Now, I don't think we should expect the Kings to go on a 19-0 run every time they're going to win a game in the fourth quarter, just like we shouldn't expect the Kings to outscore their opponents 41-20 in the fourth quarter. If the Kings have to rely on that, I think they're in trouble come winning time of the season, late on in the season and in the postseason. But if they can put themselves consistently in positions to where the game is close in the final 3-4 minutes, and DeAaron and Sabonis and that closing lineup can learn how to string a couple stops together, I think that's step one to this team winning some playoff games.
This team I don't think they're built to play defense consistently the way everybody wants them to. They can keep striving for that. Mike can keep asking of that, but I don't think they're built for that. I think they're built to be a high octane offense, and they will get timely stops on the defensive end. And that's going to be like when the games are close.
127 to 121.
There we go. That's Kings basketball this year. That's Kings basketball this year. And I mean, I think people bang their heads up against the wall. Like, wow, they play defense. That's not who they are. Like I said, they can strive for it, but that's not who they are.
And you both can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think people get too wound up. I mean, I know people want them to play better defense. I think it's when things like Thomas Bryant happen.
Well,
I think that's where people are like, yo, what the hell is this?
That was inexcusable.
Like, again, LeBron, you deal with that. You have no choice. Dennis Schroeder dropping 20. Dennis Schroeder's a good ball player. That's fine. I'm sorry, Thomas Bryant did what? That's where fans are left like, wait a minute.
Well, even with that, though, Thomas Bryant.
What was that, 70 paint points that game?
Yeah, Thomas Bryant really only happened once. Like, that's the other thing to, like, these things happen. They're like, oh, my gosh. They've been doing this all season. Well, they haven't given up random Thomas Bryant games all season.
Yeah, but they have given up 60-plus points in the paint multiple times. And that Laker game was essentially a layup line.
Absolutely.
And maybe that's where the concern is. It's not like, and I think we've heard Mike say this, Matt, you correct me if I'm wrong, but we'll give up the shot on the perimeter. We're going to guard the paint.
Yep.
And it's like, wait a minute, y'all made an effort to guard the paint, and this is happening. The hell? And it, I mean, layups, when a team is getting to the basket and scoring, it looks different than when a team is hitting a three.
Yeah.
It's like, yo, where is? I mean, I'm not saying it doesn't suck when a team is hitting a three. I'm just saying, like, yo, will someone step in front of him?
Right.
Do something.
Right.
And I think that happens so often, or it's happened so often, we just use the generic defense term. Whereas I think maybe what a lot of us are thinking, what a lot of Kings fans are thinking is, hey, as Matt said, maybe let's not make this a layup line tonight.
The other thing with that Thomas Bryant game, 14 rebounds. You know, and that's something that they had been good at for much of that. That was the other issue with the Memphis game. When Steven Adams with 23 rebounds.
Brutal.
And those
were like all offensive.
Right. And the thing about that, though, is those are atypical. Like, they happen, but usually this team has been good at rebounding the basketball and finishing off defensive possessions that way. So you're always striving. Like, the Kings could give up 7 paint points tomorrow, and you're going to be striving to give up 6 the next game because you've shown that you can give up 7. You're always going to be striving for more. But the reality of the situation is they're a timely defense.
But I think that's the defensive thing. And I'm sorry to just leave you sitting there. I think that's the defensive thing is you see the defense and you go, oh, okay, they can do it. Like what's the last thing we saw? We saw the Kings play defense on Wednesday. What do you think we're going to expect at tip on Friday? The last thing we saw. Right. So I think it's the same thing. I think it's the same mentality that you just use with the paint points.
Right. And Matt, real quick, I want to say something.
Matt George's last appearance on the show.
Well, that's like I equate that to like Thomas Bryant. Like, we've seen you score 29. Why don't you do it every night?
Well,
that's not who he is.
What do you think,
Matt?
Back to you, Matt.
What?
Yeah.
What happened?
Hey. That's our bad, Matt. Sorry about
that. My bad.
All right, I'm gonna.
You could just chime in and tell us to shut the hell up.
No, I enjoy it. I love you guys. No, I'm gonna take this opportunity here at the end to drop the character for a little bit and revisit the fact that, like, I think it is fair for Sacramento Kings fans, more than fair for Kings fans to have higher expectations than what the Kings showed for 3 out of the 4 quarters last night. And I think it is also fair to be extremely pleased with how, when it mattered, when winning time happened, the Sacramento Kings responded in an excellent way. Not to freaking mention, we're almost halfway through the season and the Kings are 4th in the Western Conference and 1st in the Pacific Division. Like, when you give that context, yeah, glasses wearing heel Matt George seems like a lunatic. But at the same time, this Kings team has shown to be a rung up the ladder higher than we expected coming into this season. And reaching another rung on top of that is not out of the realm of possibility. So what I want to do is see this team do everything that they can during the regular season to put themselves in a position to reach that rung, because I know it's possible. This is not a possibility that I felt even if you go back to the 2018-2019 season when the Kings were in a very similar position record-wise around this time of the year, it still felt like a flash in the pan, and we were just enjoying the ride as long as it would last. This feels real. This feels sustainable, and I believe the Sacramento Kings can continue to show an ability to adapt, to be coachable, and to develop to where a playoff series is not out of the realm of possibility. And even the chance of home court advantage in a playoff series, which I thought is absolute best case scenario. As of right now, the Kings are playing where that is in the realm of possibility. And I think if they're going to accomplish that, they need to handle business today better than the way that they've shown at times during this homestand and during the last couple of homestands when they've dropped winnable games that are going to matter when we're all said and done. But all things considered, Sacramento Kings fans who just want to be excited and happy and enjoy every win regardless of the context, good on you. You should absolutely feel that way, because this team has more than exceeded our expectations, and it is so much fun right now. And I'm very thankful for that aspect. I'm thankful to be able to have a bar to hold the team to, because I haven't been able to do that.
Turn at the end. The big baby face turn at the end. Breaking kayfabe with Matt George. We appreciate you so much for being with us.